Hi, I'm Maggie Stice, your consumer justice warrior. In a previous segment, I discussed High-Rise Capital's stalled Oppart project and how I had the misfortune of becoming an investor because of an unscrupulous mortgage agent at Northwood Mortgage. However, my mortgage issues didn't start with Northwood. They started before that. I inherited my family home from my late father. And when it became officially mine, I approached TD Canada Trust, my bank at the time, to up my credit limit on my credit card, which they agreed to. And I also asked them for a line of credit secured on the house, which they also agreed to. Now the house was worth more than 10 times the amount of the line of credit that I was getting. Everything was fine at first. But, I did end up spending more than I anticipated. I bought some things to work on the house, etc., etc. Anyway, a couple of emergencies came up and the line of credit was basically used up. So I approached TD and I asked them to extend the line of credit. I was only looking for maybe $5,000. 10 would have been nice, but 5 would have been fine what I needed. One of the emergencies, by the way, was my hot water tank went. So I literally had no hot water in the whole house. I was heating, water on the stove for a bath. Anyway, they turned me down. They cited my income and my credit rating. Now, before, those things have been fine. Neither had changed. I mean, I still had the same amount of money. It was guaranteed income from a trust fund. And it was, I hadn't racked up any debts, more debts any different debts in the credit bureau. Everything was the same. I was making regular payments on the line of credit, at least covering the interest. In fact, that came automatically on my bank account. I never missed a payment. I had regular payments on my credit card. Sometimes the credit card was totally paid off. Sometimes it wasn't, depending. Thought I was doing great, but not according to them. My boyfriend at the time suggested that maybe it was because the executive my dad estate had switched accounts to the Royal Bank, all the estate accounts, and they didn't like me as much. Who knows? Anyway, I had to find an alternative, and fast. I looked on the internet. This company, Canada White Financial, was advertising, no credit checks, money in 3 to 5 days. Great, I approached them. Talked to them on the phone back and forth. We also did emails. They agreed. They found me a private lender. Actually, they found me 2 lenders. One was a private lender, David Ziegelstein, and the other was Scotiabank. And again, so great. We negotiated back and forth. We figured we'd go for about, I think it was 50, 60,000, something like that, so that fees were covered, and then I'd have a little bit of cushion. After I took care of my major emergencies, I had some cushion to do some more work on the house. Great. Everything was, everything was fine. Finally agreed, got all the paper, everything done. Which, by the way, took a lot longer than the 3 to 5 days they promised in their ads. More like a few weeks. Anyway, the day came for me to go to Toronto to sign the final paperwork and bring post-dated checks for a year. Okay, fine. Got there. Now, this is where problems already were occurring. Got there, I got to the lawyer's office, a J Leader. And there I find out, you have to have your own lawyer. But we've got appointment all set up for you with a lawyer in our building. Just go down the hall, he'll go over the work with you, and then you can come back and do all the signing. Now, I should have walked away right then and there. That was sneaky. Very, very sneaky. If I need a lawyer, I should have been told this in advance, because I have a lawyer. I had the lawyer for my dad's estate. I could have had them fax the paperwork there. He probably would have squashed the deal, but anyway. But I was, I say, desperate at this point. I read to it, I went through it all, and finally got my check, came home, and everything was great for a while. You know, my checks were going through fine. Now, the thing was, though, I was transferring over to Royal. I was still using TD, but I was transferring to Royal. Some of the checks were in TD and some were in Royal because I didn't want to get any new checks from TD. I couldn't remember the exact month of the switchover, and but I thought I had enough money in both accounts to cover the check if you know, for whichever one it came out of. Well, turned out it did come out of TD. There wasn't enough. I'd forgotten about, I guess, a payment, and I think it was actually my monthly fee, and it bounced. The check for David Ziegelstein, the private lender, bounced. So I wrote him out another check, apologized, you know, I said, I realized, you know, it's just a banking glitch, the switch over, then I could send you another check. I'm happy to pay your NSF fee because that's only fair. Well, no. They sent me back a bill for almost $600. The check was for $277. They wanted almost $600 for a $277 check. It's like, what? A lot of that good chunk was a lawyer fee. Like, you can't pick up the phone and call me, you got my information, and we could have worked something out without involving a lawyer. That's part of the problem with the mortgage industry. Too many lawyers involved. Anyway, they said no, and next thing I know, they're serving me papers. They want to take my house, and like I said, all for a $277 check, you know, which was a banking glitch. Anyway, I thought, this is crazy. So I actually approached Royal Bank and asked to see if I could get a mortgage with them to pay off these guys. Well, the lady looked at it. She's really nice. She looked at the mortgage I had with them. She said she'd never seen anything so terrible. You know, 2 lenders and, you know, this and that, and the amount and everything. She said, this is terrible. And, you know, it never should have happened. Well, anyway, but unfortunately, she wasn't able to arrange a mortgage for me. However, she put me in touch with the Home Trust, and after a lot of back and forth, a deal got in place. These guys got paid off. I also had to pay off my credit card and line of credit, so I had a mortgage for the whole amount. Plus, also included in the mortgage was a year's worth of payments to Home Trust. Finally, everything got done and signed, and I finally was safe again, at least for a year. And I was so stressed out, I literally broke down and cried when this happened. And I was good for almost a year. But that's when I really started getting into issues, because years coming up and I'm thinking, okay, now how am I going to start making payments? So I approached another mortgage agent for help, and that's where I really got in trouble. This is the unscrupulous agent from Northwood Mortgage. But I will get into that in another segment. That's a long, complicated story. But as I say, my mortgage issues, and by the way, they don't end with Northwood either, they really highlight some of the problems with mortgage industry, how banks are not being helpful, and how we're being pushed to these private lenders, many of whom are extremely unscrupulous. Anyway, until the next 2 segments, which are coming up shortly, I am Maggie Stice. I am a travel writer, I am a copywriter, and I am your consumer justice warrior. Good night.